Hey, friends and race fans. Welcome to what I hope to be a new weekly series on Miss Danica Patrick. I wanted to start this series because I was a regular commenter on Stuart Haas Racing's Facebook page. Uh, I would go in and look at the comments from Danica's quote unquote fans, uh, see what they had to say, and I would correct them if they needed corrected, which was most of the time. And uh, I guess Stuart Haas, whoever takes care of that page, finally got tired of hearing the truth, didn't want their fans to know the truth, whatever the reason, they banned me. So I said, okay, fine. I'll just go to the page since I can go still look at it. I'll go to the page, take screenshots of the comments that I'm interested in, bring them over here, show them to everybody, and comment on them over here where they can't ban me. Well, Stuart Haas can't ban me. So anyway, that's what this project is. I hope to be able to keep it going week after week after each race. Stuart Haas Racing Facebook page. They have two. excuse me. They have two sections, I guess you'd call, or two threads that they do every week. One is called Race Advance, where they, for each of the four drivers, they'll give a little story on each driver and how they did at that track and so on and so forth. And then after the race, they'll have what they call a race report. So those are the two main threads that I'm going to keep an eye on over there and talk about over here. So I hope it's something that you enjoy. I hope it's something that you can find some information maybe you didn't know before. See how easy it is to debunk what her quote-unquote fans say, what they think, how silly they can be. And I hope you like it, and we'll see how this whole project goes. So without further ado, let's get started with our first show. This week's race was at Watkins, Glen, where Danica started P43 thanks to an engine change and finished a wonderful P21. So let's get to this week's fan fail. Okay, so let's start with the Race Advance thread from SHR. And we'll start with Ella, who says that we don't have anything nice to say, we shouldn't say anything. Well, I don't imagine that her fans want to hear the truth, so they would want us to say nothing at all, because not much we had to say about Danica as far as her stats go is nice. She also says that Danica's a better driver than she has been. Well, that's just hooey, because she's just not. This year she may have a couple of individual races where she performed a little bit better than she has been, but overall, no, she's not any better than she has been. That's shown that she's 28th in points this year. At this point in time last year, she was 27th in points. 28th is not better than 27th, so she's not better. And why don't we get out there and see how hard it is? Well, if we can't judge her because we haven't driven, then you can't say she's good because you haven't driven. That's a stupid argument that because we haven't been in a race car that we can't judge her. We don't know how hard it is, okay? And her buddy David here, or Daniel here, says basically the same thing, that we can't pass judgment because we've never driven. Well, it's a stupid argument. It's a tired argument. You're comparing her to us instead of her peers, which means you don't think she has any talent either. But let's look at this, okay? She has 16 years of racing experience in 3 or 4 different leagues. I have 0. Okay? She has one more career win than I do, and that was a fuel mileage win. We have the same number of wins in NASCAR. She only has 8 more career top 5s than I do. That's in her whole career. She doesn't have any more top fives in Cup than I do. We both have 0. She's only got 11 more top 10s than I do in NASCAR. That includes nationwide. She's only got 1 more pole than I do in Cup. And we've got the same number of racing championships. So, is Danica Patrick a better racer than me? Or my fellow, what you call haters? We call ourselves truthers. Yeah, she's better, but just barely. So there wasn't much to say in advance this week, so we'll go on to race report. There's not a lot more here either, but we'll go over what I did find. And we'll start off with John here, who says that she needs to get more aggressive on restarts and not lose positions. Well, don't you think she would if she could? That's just she doesn't have the talent to do it. Ron says, what about all the other drivers who constantly finish behind her? Oh boy. Another tired old Danica fan response. All the drivers behind her. Let's just talk about all the drivers behind her for a minute, shall we? Because there are 35 drivers right now in 2014 that have run all 22 races. 35 drivers that have run every race so far this year that haven't missed any races. Danica's one of those 35. Of those 35, she is 28th in points. That means there's only 7 drivers who have run the full schedule so far that are behind her in points. 7. And those 7 drivers, Justin Allgaier, Michael Annett, Cole Witt, Alex Bowman, David Gilliland, David Reagan, and Reed Sorensen. 4 rookies and 3 drivers that are on vastly underfunded teams compared to Stewart-Haas Racing. These are the guys that you people are always saying are always behind her, and why don't you talk about the guys that are always behind her? That's because they're not supposed to be doing better than her, okay? She's in top tier equipment. They're not, okay? Dustin, she has talent. Well, show us the stats that prove that, and maybe we'll talk, okay? You won't do it. Sarah. Oh, this guy over there, he never ceases to put a smile on my face whenever I read his posts over there. He's just so full of it. For one, look, he can't deny zigzagging through a spinning Newman right in front of her. That took some ability. Bull. It took no ability. She didn't do any zigzagging. She kept her car straight. Watch the race again. She didn't zigzag. She kept her car in the same line. The only reason her car got damaged was because Newman's car was still spinning around and the back bumper was ripped off but was still hanging on. And when he spun around back in front of her, his hanging bumper swung around and hit her. If that bumper hadn't spun around, she would have gotten through it. But not through any driving ability of hers. She just held her line. Newman's car ran into her. She didn't run into it. She doesn't get any credit for that. Anyway, that's pretty much it from Race Report. So here's another section I'm going to put in every week, and that's Danica Patrick's 2014 season stats. I keep a spreadsheet and keep it updated each week after each race of some of the major stats for Danica. And I keep them in a spreadsheet. Here's the spreadsheet. And we'll just go through it real quick here, and I'll kind of explain everything so you'll know what it is next week or in future weeks if I get to keep this going. First is current points position. That's a red box. That would change each week depending on its comparison to 2013. She was 27th at this point in 2013, and she's 28th now, so that box is red because she's worse than she was last season. This week, race start. She started 43rd this week because of the engine change. She finished 22nd, so that box is green. If she finishes behind where she starts, like she usually does, that box will be red most of the time. She didn't go any laps down this week, which is another rarity for her. So that box isn't red. Usually, most of these boxes are red. Green flag passes and green flag passed. Okay, this is what we call GFPR, or a green flag pass ratio. A green flag pass ratio, there are timing loops on every track in NASCAR, and they use these to tell how many times a car passes another car, or how many times that car gets passed by another car. So if you pass a car, it counts one. If you get passed by another car, it counts one for that. So, and this is only on the track under green flag conditions. This doesn't count anything that happens on pit road. It doesn't count anything that happens in the pits. This is only on the track under green flag conditions, under racing conditions. Okay. So this week she passed 68 cars and 65 cars passed her. So she had a +3 GFPR, which is unusual for her because most of the time she'll have a negative GFPR, as you can see by the next few numbers. Her total year-to-date GFPR for this season right now is -195. That means she's been passed 195 more times than she has passed anybody on the track. Okay? That's almost nine more cars pass her per race than she passes. Okay? So she's not racing. She's sitting there and letting things happen, and we'll get into that in a minute. Her weekly driver rating is 51.7. And by the way, I forgot to say, all these numbers come from either racingreference.info or jski.com. I don't just pull these numbers out of the blue. These are real numbers. Her driver rating is 51.7. It's green because it's better than last week's 41.4. If that was worse, it'd be red. She didn't take any lucky dogs this week, but she has taken 8 of them, as you can see in the next 2 lines. She's taken 8 of them in 22 races. She's taken 8 lucky dogs so far this season. PTAs. PTA is position through attrition. Okay, that's our motto for Danica, and that's her modus operandi, if you will. That's how she operates this year. And what attrition is, for those of you who don't know, and I should explain this for the Danica fans out there. Attrition means a car has some kind of issue that causes it not to be able to race anymore, drop out of the race, or at least be several laps down. An engine blown, a crash, whatever. And Danica uses these PTAs. That's how she gains, quote unquote, her positions all out of the time in these races. For instance, today she had 10 PTAs. That means 10 cars had issues that were ahead of her at the time in the field. They had issues, a crash, a blown tire, an engine problem, whatever. 10 of them today. She gained 10 spots without having to do anything. They were gifts. So that automatically put her up to 33rd. Okay? So she was up to 33rd without even having to do anything. And so far in 2014, she's gotten 100 positions doing this. 100 positions. That's over 2 full races worth of cars that she has gained, quote unquote, positions because of the misfortune of another driver. 100. And people say she's a good racer. That's not racing. That's riding around waiting on bad things to happen to other drivers. And that's all she's been doing this year. Riding around in the back, riding around where she qualifies, and waiting on things in front of her to go bad for somebody. 100 times this season so far. This week she didn't have any waiver rounds, which she gets quite a few of those. And I didn't get to do the week pit in, pit out. That's what position she was when she pitted in, and what position she came out in, if she gained or lost any positions. I wasn't able to get that this week. So that's her season points spreadsheet. I'll try to do that each week, go over the numbers each week, and hopefully make this a regular thing. I've got a couple other stat sheets that I may incorporate later on if things go well here. So yeah. So that's my new series. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. Of Danica Patrick fan fail. Her fans, 90% of her fans don't know wedge from a hole in the ground. They don't know anything about NASCAR. They've only been watching NASCAR since 2010 when Danica came to the sport. They don't know anything about the sport itself. All they know is Danica's a pretty girl, and that's the only reason they like her. That's the only reason they're watching racing. So, hopefully this works out, and we'll subscribe if you like it. Let me know if you like it. Let me know what you like, what you don't like. Write in the comments. Let me know, and maybe if this goes well, we'll see you next week. So, thank you for watching, and let's see how this goes. Thank you all. Goodbye.